So, you're wondering if you should get a master's degree in data science. Well, I started doing that about a year ago, so let me give you some tips and some information to help decide if that's really the right path for you. But first, if you could, please hit the like button. It helps me out a lot and it doesn't cost you anything. All right, let's get into it. So, if you're thinking about getting a master's in data science, there's a few questions you should ask yourself first, and we'll go through these in more detail. First, why? Why are you interested in data science? Are you even interested in data science? Second, what do you think that a master's will do for you? And do you need a master's to do that? Third, do you have any professional work experience? Fourth, what is your education and your work background in? What field? And finally, where, so what location and what company do you want to work? So we'll go through these one by one, but first, a little disclaimer. I'm going to be ignoring some of the financial stuff that goes along with this, so I can't tell you if a particular program is worth it. You're the only one who can decide that. I can't answer specific questions about whether you'll make your money back or not. I don't know. It depends on your particular circumstances and on your work ethic and the job market and a million other things that I don't know and some things that you don't know. My program was expensive. It cost over $30,000. I've already got a job that made that expense well worth it. But I can't say for sure the same thing will happen for you or for anyone else. Just try to keep that in mind as we dig in. There is the financial aspect that you need to keep your eye on as well. So first, why do you want to get into data science, analytics, etc.? It could be a hard question to answer, but I've got a video outlining a few reasons you shouldn't get into data science and analytics. So go watch that video and come back if you haven't already. I'll link it above. If you've already decided on data science or analytics and you know for sure this is the right spot for you, great. We'll move on, but make sure that you're committed to the field for the right reasons. There's a lot of talk out there about how much money people in data science and analytics make, and it can be a very lucrative field, but if that's the only reason you're interested in it, it's not going to work for you, I promise. With that out of the way, let's move on to number 2. What are you expecting to get out of this? What is it you think a master's degree will do for you? And whatever it is, do you need a master's degree to get that? There's a lot of positives that come along with a master's degree, and I've talked about them extensively on this channel. So go watch some of my videos if you're curious about what the good reasons to get a master's degree are. Let's think about some of those reasons. Are you looking to change careers? Well, a master's degree is not required to change careers into analytics from anything. From certain fields, it's more helpful than from others, but you do not need a master's degree to get into analytics if you're coming from a different field. You can do it without one. Now, it can certainly expedite the process, which is why I decided to do it, but you can definitely transition from a different field into analytics or data science without a master's degree. And if the only reason you're getting one is because you think you won't be able to break in otherwise, I'd recommend against it. Or are you going straight from your undergraduate degree to get a master's degree because you think it'll allow you to make more money when you break into the field? I'd caution against that approach. When I first got my job in financial analytics, there were a lot of people that had master's degrees with the same job title and the same pay as me, and all I had was my bachelor's degree. So if you think it's going to boost your income without any work experience at all, I would think twice. Another point against that is a lot of these grad programs show you these earnings statistics that their alumni are making right out of their program, but there's a couple of things they don't tell you which really colors the way you should view those things. Number one, a lot of those high-paying jobs that your cohort, people from your class, are going to be getting are going to be more senior level jobs because they already have experience. If you don't have experience, you shouldn't be expecting to get senior level positions like some of your other classmates might. And the second thing is, a lot of those people are going to be working in high cost of living areas. Now, if that's something you're interested in, great. But if not, keep in mind, those people working in New York and making $100,000, which is not very much for New York, are dragging the class average up. So people who are living and working in a lower cost of living areas are not going to be making that much money. So keep that in mind. Another position you might be in, say you're a data analyst and you're looking to fast track your way to senior data analyst. Is a master's degree right for you? Honestly, no, probably not. If you're a data analyst already and you want to become a senior data analyst, here's what I would do if I were in your position. I'd work my ass off. I would try to get promoted at my current company. If they wouldn't promote me, I'd jump to another company where I'd have that title right off the bat. Especially if your company is not willing to pay for your degree, there's no need to go into debt just to try to get one level up from analyst to senior analyst or from data scientist to senior data scientist by getting a degree. In my opinion, it's not worth that. You might be thinking that having a master's degree would make you eligible for management positions down the line. That's possible. I mean, it really depends on the culture of your company, and so I can't answer that question. That's something you'd have to figure out. But if you think that a master's degree, or you know a master's degree is required for more senior positions you're interested in, then yeah, it could be worth it. But most companies think about your experience more than your credentials once you've already broken into the field. If, however, your company wants to pay for your master's degree, I shouldn't have to tell you what to do in that position. That is contingent, however, on if they have a payback clause. A lot of companies will pay for your tuition, but if you leave within the next few years or so, you have to pay it back. So keep in mind that sort of thing if your company offers to pay for your tuition, but generally, it's a pretty good approach. The third thing to think about is, do you have any professional work experience? I don't mean the summer that you worked at the movie theater in your hometown. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is analyst roles or anything post your bachelor's degree which you could consider professional experience, so think office job. Now, if you're in the position that I was in, and you do, a master's degree could be a good option for you to switch from one field to the next, and also potentially go up a level during that switch, which is what I did. I used my master's degree as a shortcut so that it would take less time for me to get into a field that I was happy to work in and that paid better. I'd really only recommend this if you're pretty certain that you're really going to enjoy analytics, because otherwise I wouldn't even make the jump. But in some instances, you're going to need some kind of credentials. You're going to need to be able to show potential employers that you've got the skills they need to get their job done. That can be a master's degree. That can be a boot camp. That can be experience on your resume. You just have to show them, I can do what you need me to do, and here's how I can prove it to you. Speaking of credentials, that brings us to point 4. What is your background? What is your bachelor's degree in? What is your work experience in? All of these things are things you need to consider when navigating your path from one field to the next and deciding if a master's degree is right for you. If your degree and your work experience are in non-technical fields, it could be worth getting a master's degree. But before you go whole hog and jump in, what I'd recommend is learning a little bit about computer science, coding, and stats, and doing a couple of Kaggle projects or just self-study projects. Number 1, to make sure you really like it, and number 2, because employers look at projects. If you don't have a master's degree or you don't have relevant experience, but you do have some really great projects, you could at least get to the point where you can talk to an employer sometimes, and it would be worth sort of feeling that out before you jump in from a completely different field. I jumped right in because I knew from financial analysis the parts of that I liked, and those parts were data analysis and data science. So jumping right in made sense for me, but if you're a fine arts major, you work in a museum, maybe not. Maybe make sure it does before you make that transition and jump into the deep end of the pool. One thing I'd really recommend, particularly if you're not from a supremely relevant field, is to do an interesting project, do something clever. Employers love to see that you think critically and that you're capable of coming up with a clever project. Like if you worked at an art museum and you wanted to try to figure out how does what style an art exhibit is correlate to how much attendance we have and how many tickets we sell and things like that. Employers love to see outside the box thinking like that. And if you can do something like that coming from a non-technical background, a lot of employers will think of you more highly than a person with a technical background and no relevant experience at all. And so that brings us to our final point. Where do you want to work? What area? What employers? That's going to play, in my opinion, the biggest role in where you go once you've decided that you should. That's the path that I took on purpose. I've been targeting the same company for a few years, and I knew that they recruited from the University of Virginia, so I chose to go there. It worked out for me. I got offered a job at my dream company before I even finished the program. In fact, I won't finish the program for another 8 months. But besides location, there's one other big thing you should look for in programs when you're finally ready to pick one, and that's capstone projects. Capstone projects are an excellent way to get an introduction to an employer and to show them just what I was talking about earlier, your credentials. If your program does not have capstone projects, or the capstone projects they do have aren't with real companies, I would be hesitant to join a program like that, because half of what you get for a professional degree is leads on jobs, is relationships with companies, is professional networking experiences. So if your program does not offer things like that, I'm not so high on it. So try to find somewhere near where you want to work with a good reputation in that area that has a capstone project that works with real companies and real data. And if you made it to the end of the video here, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully, if you decide that a master's program is right for you, you really enjoy the experience like I have. If you've got questions about particular programs and what I think about them and what I think about particular job opportunities, leave them in the comments below. I answer every single comment that I get. Be sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.